First contact, the Valorian warship Conqueror pierced through the darkness of space, its predatory silhouette illuminated by the distant light of the Nidari sun. Admiral Dravek Krell stood on the command bridge, his scaled hands clasped behind his back as he watched the small planetary defense ship scramble in desperate formation. Their efforts were admirable but ultimately futile. The Nidari were the seventh civilization to fall before the Valorian Empire this cycle, and they would not be the last. Status report, Krell demanded, his voice carrying the distinctive metallic resonance of his species. Nidari defense grid at 12% capacity, Admiral, responded his second-in-command, Sub-Commander Vex. Their orbital stations are neutralized, planetary shields failing. Krell's mouth stretched into what passed for a smile among his kind, revealing rows of serrated teeth. Begin the landing sequence. I want resource extraction initiated before local nightfall. This was how it had been for decades. The Valorian Empire expanded unchallenged through the Orion arm of the galaxy, methodically conquering worlds, stripping them of resources, and subjugating their populations. Their technological superiority was unquestioned, their military might unchallenged. Lesser species learned quickly that resistance only prolonged the inevitable. Admiral, the sensor officer called out suddenly, we're detecting a transmission from the Nidari central government. They claim to have contacted the Terrans. A ripple of unease passed through the bridge crew. Terrans, humans. Few Valorians had ever seen one in person, but stories of their homeworld, Earth, had spread even to the far reaches of the Empire. They were said to be isolationists, having expanded to only a handful of star systems despite possessing faster-than-light technology for over a century. Desperate lies from a desperate people, Krell dismissed with a wave of his hand. The Terrans have never interfered in conquests beyond their borders. They are technologically primitive and few in number. Continue as planned. But as the Valorian fleet moved into bombardment formation around the azure world of Nidaria, something unexpected appeared at the edge of their sensor range. A ship, just one. It emerged from FTL, not with the characteristic flash of a jump drive, but with an elegant ripple, as though the fabric of space had gently parted to allow its passage. Unlike the ornate biomechanical designs favored by the Valorians, this vessel was sleek and angular, with clean lines and a distinctive arrowhead shape. It bore no visible weapons arrays, no external defenses that Valorian sensors could detect. Yet it moved with purpose, positioning itself directly between the Valorian fleet and the planet below. Identification? Krell demanded. Terran Registry, Admiral, the sensor officer replied, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. Designated TFS Athena, Battleship class. Krell's inner eyelids flickered in amusement. One ship? The Nidari? Called for help, and the mighty Terrans sent a single vessel? He barked a laugh. Open a channel. Let's hear what these primitives have to say before we destroy them. Commander Elena Reyes stood steady on the bridge of the TFS Athena, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical display. The Valorian fleet was impressive. 15 capital ships, numerous support vessels, and what appeared to be troop transports preparing for a planetary invasion. Intelligence had been accurate. This was a full conquest operation. Commander, her communications officer called. The Valorian flagship is hailing us. Reyes nodded. On screen, the bridge view screen flickered to life, revealing the reptilian features of a Valorian high commander. His scales gleamed with metallic implants denoting rank and achievement, a culture that wore its military honors physically embedded in its flesh. Terran vessel, the Valorian spoke, his translator rendering his words with a slight delay. You have entered a Valorian military operation zone. State your purpose or be destroyed. Reyes stood straighter, her expression neutral. At 43, she had spent half her life in the Terran fleet, rising through the ranks during humanity's quiet expansion. This mission, this moment, represented a fundamental shift in Terran foreign policy, one she had advocated for years. This is Commander Elena Reyes of the Terran Federation ship Athena. You are engaged in an unprovoked attack against the sovereign, Nidari people, who have formally requested Terran assistance. Her voice was calm, matter of fact. The Terran Federation recognizes the Nidari Union as an autonomous, peaceful civilization under our protection. You will cease hostilities immediately and withdraw from this system. The Valorian commanders, scales rippled in what humans had learned was their equivalent of laughter. I am Admiral Dravek Krell of the Valorian Empire. Perhaps you are unfamiliar with galactic politics, Terran, but the Valorian Empire does not recognize your authority to declare protectorates. Your single ship, no matter how interesting its design, poses no threat to my fleet. Reyes allowed, herself a small smile. You misunderstand the situation, Admiral. I'm not here to negotiate. She nodded to her tactical officer, who activated the Athena's primary defense grid. Across the hull of the Terran vessel, previously invisible panels shifted, revealing a honeycomb pattern of micro-emitters that began to glow with soft blue light. What is that? Demanded Krell, his translator unable to fully mask the sudden tension in his voice. A demonstration, Reyes replied simply. On the bridge of the Conqueror, Krell watched with growing unease as the Terran vessel appeared to transform before his eyes. The seemingly smooth hull now bristled with thousands of tiny emitter points, creating a geometric pattern that hurt to look at directly. Weapons status? He barked. All systems operational, Admiral, Vex replied. But we're detecting no known weapon signatures from the Terran vessel. No missile tubes, no energy cannons. Krell's unease deepened. In 3 decades of military service, he had encountered dozens of alien defense systems, and all followed the same, basic principles. This was different. Target their ship, he ordered. Full barrage all vessels. Let's see how their hull holds against Valorian firepower. Throughout the fleet, targeting computers locked onto the lone Terran vessel. Missile, tubes opened, energy weapons charged, and railguns aligned. At Krell's command, the might of the Valorian armada unleashed hell upon the Athena. And nothing happened. The energy beams that should have seared through space seemed to disappear meters from the Terran hull. Missiles altered course inexplicably, bypassing their target entirely and continuing harmlessly into deep space. Railgun projectiles slowed and stopped as though caught in invisible webs. Explain, Krell roared. Before his officers could respond, the lights on the Conqueror's bridge dimmed. Throughout the fleet, Valorian vessels reported sudden power fluctuations, weapons systems going offline, engines losing thrust. The Terran commander's face reappeared on the viewscreen, still wearing that small, confident smile. Admiral Krell, what you've just witnessed is a glimpse of Terran defensive technology. We call it the adaptive negation field. Your weapons cannot penetrate it because it adapts in real time to any form of attack. The energy disruptions your fleet is experiencing are merely a secondary effect, a gentle reminder of our capabilities. Krell's scales darkened in rage. Impossible. No species possesses such technology. You're partially correct, Reyes acknowledged. No other species you've encountered possesses it. Humanity has chosen isolation not out of weakness, Admiral, but because we recognized our own potential for destruction. Our history is written in the blood of our own people, in wars that nearly extinguished us. When we reached the stars, we made a choice to expand slowly, cautiously. Her expression hardened. But we never stopped innovating. We never stopped preparing for the possibility that somewhere among the stars, we would encounter others like ourselves. Predators who understand only dominance. On the tactical display, Krell watched in growing horror as small objects detached from the Terran vessel. Hundreds of them, each no larger than a personal shuttle. They moved with impossible speed, surrounding his fleet in a 3-dimensional grid. These are autonomous defense platforms, Reyes explained. Each one carries a localized version of the same technology currently protecting the Athena. They can neutralize your weapons, disrupt your power systems, or, if necessary, generate focused energy fields capable of cutting through your hull plating like paper. The implications hit Krell like a physical blow. If the Terran was telling the truth, and the evidence before his eyes suggested she was, his entire fleet was at the mercy of this single ship. What do you want? He asked, his earlier bravado evaporating. As I said, withdraw from this system. return to Valorian space. And carry this message to your leadership. The Terran Federation is ending its policy of isolation. We will establish formal relations with peaceful civilizations in this sector, beginning with the Nidari. Any further aggression against them, or other non-hostile species, will be met with the full response of the Terran fleet. Krell's inner eyelids flickered rapidly as he processed this ultimatum. And if we refuse? Reyes looked genuinely regretful. Then I will be forced to demonstrate that what you've witnessed so far represents less than 10% of the Athena's defensive capabilities. She paused. I should note that 17 additional Terran vessels are currently en route to this sector, following reports of systematic Valorian aggression against non-combatant species. A tense silence filled the bridge of the Conqueror. For the first time in his illustrious career, Admiral Dravek Krell faced an enemy he could not overwhelm with superior firepower or military tactics. This human, this Commander Reyes, had with a single ship altered the balance of power that had defined this sector for generations. You have 1 hour to begin withdrawal procedures, Reyes continued. After that, we will be forced to take more permanent measures. The communication ended, leaving the Valorian command bridge in stunned silence. Sub-Commander Vex approached cautiously. Admiral, your orders? Krell stared at the image of the Terran vessel, its honeycomb defense grid still glowing with that eerie blue light, the swarm of defense platforms now completely encircling his fleet. In that moment, he made a decision that would change the course of galactic history. Begin withdrawal procedures, he ordered quietly. The age of unchallenged Valorian expansion had come to an end. The reckoning Admiral Dravek Krell had never retreated in his 30 years of military service. The concept was so foreign to Valorian military doctrine that there wasn't even a proper procedure for it. As the command ships began to reverse course, pulling away from Nidaria's orbit, Krell felt the weight of generations of Valorian conquerors judging him from the ancestral plane. Status of the Terran vessel, he demanded, his voice carrying an edge that made his subordinates flinch. Maintaining position between our fleet and the planet, Admiral, Sub-Commander Vex reported. Their defense platforms remain deployed around our formation. They appear to be escorting us out of the system. The humiliation burned like acid in Krell's throat. Those who showed weakness did not lead the Valorian military for long. The Emperor would not accept failure, especially not against a species that had been dismissed as technological inferiors for decades. There had to be a way to salvage the situation. Order the fleet to continue withdrawal procedures, Krell instructed, but have the Shadowblade and Vengeance fall back at reduced speed. Tactical analysis suggests the Terran defense grid creates a detectable energy signature. Have our science division analyze the pattern for vulnerabilities. Vex hesitated. Admiral, if the Terran commander detects, she won't, Krell interrupted. And even if she does, what can one ship do against our entire battle group? He bared his teeth in a predatory smile. No species develops perfect technology in isolation. There must be weakness, and we will find it. On the bridge of the TFS Athena, Commander Reyes watched the Valorian fleet begin its withdrawal with cautious satisfaction. First contact scenarios rarely resolve this cleanly, especially with aggressive species like the Valorians. Commander, called Lieutenant Park from the tactical station. 2 Valorian vessels are lagging behind the main fleet. We're detecting unusual scan patterns directed at our defense grid. Reyes nodded, unsurprised. As expected, Admiral Krell struck me as too prideful to accept defeat so easily. She turned to her XO, Commander Gabriela Santos. What do you think, Gabby? Should we give them something to think about? Santos smiled grimly. The Valorians have a saying, show strength once, and enemies will test you. Show strength twice, and they will fear you. Tactical, Reyes ordered. Deploy a Class 2 demonstration on the trailing Valorian vessels. Limited duration, non-destructive. Aye, Commander. Class 2 demonstration initialized. Aboard the Valorian science vessel Shadowblade, First Researcher Thex carefully analyzed the readings from the Terran defense grid. The pattern was unlike anything in Valorian scientific records, not simply advanced technology but a fundamentally different approach to energy manipulation. I'm detecting quantum-level entanglement across their entire hull, Thex reported to the ship's captain. It's as if each emitter point is simultaneously connected to every other point, creating a self-reinforcing lattice that... His analysis was cut short as every system on the Shadow Blade simultaneously deactivated. Not powered down, but simply stopped. Artificial gravity failed, plunging the crew into weightlessness. Life support entered emergency backup mode. The lights died, leaving only the distant starlight filtering through viewports. And then, impossibly, a human voice echoed through the darkened command center despite the communication systems being offline. This is Commander Elena Reyes of the TFS Athena to Valorian vessels Shadowblade and Vengeance. Your scanning activities have been noted and deemed hostile. This temporary system shutdown is a courtesy reminder of our previous discussion. Thex floated in the darkness, his scientific curiosity momentarily overcoming his fear. How were the humans projecting voice without active communication systems? How had they disabled a Valorian warship without firing a single conventional weapon? Your systems will reactivate in 60 seconds, the human voice continued. I advise you to rejoin your fleet's withdrawal formation immediately. Further analysis attempts of Terran technology will result in more permanent consequences. True to her word, exactly 60 seconds later, every system on both Valorian vessels simultaneously reactivated. Captain Lorvek of the Shadowblade immediately ordered maximum thrust to rejoin the main fleet. All thoughts of technological analysis abandoned. Admiral Krell received the reports from the Shadowblade and Vengeance with growing rage and, beneath it, a sensation he had never expected to experience in battle. Fear. Complete systems failure without warning, he muttered, reading Captain Lorvek's report. No energy signature detected before shutdown. No conventional attack vector identified. There's more, Admiral, Vex said quietly. The Terran commander somehow spoke directly to the crew despite communications being offline. Science Division has no explanation for how this was accomplished. Krell stared at the tactical display showing his fleet in full retreat, pursued by that single, impossible, Terran vessel. His options were rapidly dwindling. Return to Valorian space in disgrace, face the Emperor's wrath, and likely end his career. Or worse. Or bring the fleet about, he ordered suddenly. All vessels, battle formation, Talon strike. Target the Terran ship with everything we have. The bridge fell silent. Admiral, Vex finally said, you saw what happened when we attempted that before. Their defense technology was deployed defensively, Krell finished. But they claim to be protectors, peacekeepers. Their commander spoke of their history, their restraint. I believe she was telling the truth. The Terrans have the technology to destroy us, but not the will. He leaned forward, his scaled hands gripping the command console. Overwhelm them. Every weapon, every vessel. They cannot maintain that defense. Grid indefinitely. No technology is without limits. The Valorian fleet's sudden change in course registered immediately on the Athena's sensors. They're coming about, Lieutenant Park reported. Battle formation. Weapons charging across all vessels. Reyes exchanged a glance with Santos. It seems Admiral Krell has chosen to test our resolve. Your orders, Commander? Santos asked. Reyes considered the situation. The Athena could undoubtedly neutralize the entire Valorian fleet with its advanced technology. But the Terran Federation had not authorized the destruction of 15 capital ships and thousands of Valorian lives, no matter how aggressive their species. There had to be another way, one that would establish humanity's position in galactic affairs without unnecessary bloodshed. Tactical. Activate the Revelation Protocol, she ordered. Communications. Prepare for wide-spectrum broadcast. Her crew moved with practiced efficiency, initiating one of the Athena's most classified systems. Throughout the ship, specialized emitters came online, drawing power from the vessel's quantum core. Protocol active, Commander, reported the tactical officer. Ready on your mark. Reyes took a deep breath. What she was about to do had been theorized but never tested in actual combat. It represented decades of Terran research into not just weapons technology, but the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. Execute. Aboard the Conqueror, Krell watched with savage satisfaction as his fleet accelerated toward the lone Terran vessel. This time there would be no retreat, no humiliation. The combined firepower of 15 Valorian capital ships would overwhelm any defense technology, no matter how advanced. Weapons range in 30 seconds, Vex announced. All vessels report. Ready to. Something happened. Later in his reports, those he shared officially and those he kept hidden in his personal logs, Krell would struggle to describe the experience. It was as if for a brief moment he was no longer in his body. His consciousness seemed to expand, connecting to everything. Every member of his crew, every Valorian on every ship, and more. He could feel the Nidari on the planet below, their fear and desperation, and most disturbingly, he could feel the humans aboard the Terran vessel. Their determination, their resolve, their absolute certainty. Memories not his own flashed through his mind. Earth, a blue-green jewel much like Nidaria. Humans fighting humans, weapons of increasing destruction. Cities burning. Wastelands where great civilizations had once stood. And then, rebuilding. Learning. A species turning its talent for warfare into a commitment to peace, but never forgetting how to fight when necessary. He saw the true extent of Terran technology, not just the single battleship before him, but vast shipyards hidden in distant star systems, producing vessels that made the Athena look primitive by comparison. Defensive systems that could neutralize entire fleets without destroying them. And weapons that could crack planets, extinguish stars, bend space and time itself, all held in check by a species that had looked into the abyss of self-annihilation and chosen another path. As suddenly as it began, the experience ended. Krell found himself back on his command bridge, gasping for breath. Around him, his officers were in similar states of shock, scales pale, eyes wide. "Admiral," Vex whispered. "Did you?" "Yes," Krell replied hoarsely. "I saw." The tactical display showed his fleet had come to a complete stop. All forward momentum arrested. The Terran vessel remained in position, its honeycomb defense grid glowing steadily. The communications officer broke the silence. "Admiral, incoming transmission from the Terran ship." Commander Reyes's face appeared on the screen, her expression solemn but not triumphant. "Admiral Krell, what you and your crew have just experienced is called the Revelation Protocol. It's a non-invasive technology that allows for temporary consciousness sharing across species barriers. We developed it originally as a means of peaceful first contact, but it serves equally well as a demonstration of perspective." She paused, studying his reaction. "You now understand what confronting the Terran Federation truly means. Not just our technological capabilities, but our history. Why we choose restraint and what happens when that restraint is tested too far." Krell found his voice, though it sounded strange to his own ears. "You could have destroyed us at any time." "We could have," Reyes acknowledged. "We chose not to. Just as we choose now to offer you a choice. Continue this aggression and force our hand, or withdraw and carry a message to your Emperor. The galaxy is changing, Admiral. The age of unchecked conquest is ending." For the first time in his life, Dravek Krell truly understood what it meant to face a superior force. Not just technologically, but philosophically. The Terrans had transcended the binary of conqueror and conquered. They had found another way. "Lower weapons," he ordered. "All. Vessel's resume withdrawal course." 3 days later, the last Valorian ship disappeared from Nidari space. From the observation deck of the Athena, Commander Reyes watched the azure planet below, where relief efforts were already underway to repair the damage from the brief bombardment. "Transmission from Terran Command, Commander," Santos reported, joining her at the viewport. "They're sending a diplomatic team to formalize the protection agreement with the Nidari government. And there's more. 17 other systems have already petitioned for similar arrangements." Reyes nodded. "The galaxy was bound to change eventually, Gabby. The Valorians just happened to be the catalyst." "Do you think they'll return?" Santos asked. "Not to Nidaria," Reyes replied. But this is just the beginning. Admiral Krell will report what happened here, what he experienced. The Valorian Empire will adapt their strategy, perhaps even their entire imperial philosophy. She turned. Away from the viewport, her expression thoughtful. Humanity spent centuries learning that dominance through force alone is ultimately unsustainable. Some lessons can only be taught through demonstration. And some species learn faster than others, Santos added. True, Reyes agreed. But today, I think we made our point clear enough. She smiled slightly. One ship at a time, if necessary. In the space above Nidaria, the TFS Athena's defense grid deactivated, panels sliding closed to once again conceal the technology that had altered the balance of power in this corner of the galaxy. But throughout nearby systems, the message was, already spreading, the humans have arrived, and nothing would be the same again.